It's strange how a single sentence can tear your life into two halves. The man you were before and the shell left after. Her voice was steady, rehearsed, like she'd been waiting for the moment to cut me down. I'm taking the kids. You'll never see them again. When Marielle said it, something inside me collapsed. The sound of the door slamming shut was louder than the glass slipping from my hand, shattering across the floor. But both felt final, as if my life had broken into pieces too small to ever put back together. I sat there, motionless, staring at the shards glinting under the dull light, my reflection fragmented and unrecognizable. For the first time, I wondered if maybe she was right. Maybe I wasn't worth being loved. Maybe I was nothing. The night stretched on endlessly. I paced the apartment, moving but not living. The silence pressing in like a weight I couldn't shake off. Every corner echoed with ghosts. My kids' laughter, the warmth that used to fill the rooms, all gone, carried out with her. A darker thought crept in, one I'd never dared hold before. Maybe the pain could stop if I did. If I stepped out of life completely. But then, I swear I heard it. A voice. Faint. More like a breath than a sound. Not yet. I froze, spinning around, but the room was empty. Empty except for me and the ache in my chest. Maybe it was madness. Maybe grief twisting my brain. But I listened. Somehow, I couldn't ignore it. I didn't do it. I didn't end things. Not that night. The next morning, my body moved like it was pulled by invisible strings. I wandered the streets with no plan, just letting my feet take me wherever they wanted. The sky was gray, the pavement slick from last night's rain, the whole city wearing the same despair I carried inside. And then I saw it. A diner. Old. Weathered. Clinging to the corner of the block like it had outlasted storms most places never could. The neon sign above the door buzzed weakly, the word open flickering as if it couldn't decide whether it still had the strength. I almost walked past, but hunger, or maybe something deeper, tugged me inside. The smell hit me first. Coffee, bacon, fried eggs, comfort disguised as food. A tired waitress motioned me toward a booth, and I slid into the cracked vinyl seat, slumping under the weight of everything I carried. That's when I noticed him, an old man already sitting across from me, though I was sure the booth had been empty when I sat down. His skin was creased with years, his clothes plain, but it was his eyes that froze me. They weren't just looking at me, they were looking through me, like he could see the fracture lines no one else noticed. You look like a man who's misplaced his compass, he said. His voice was gravelly, but softened by kindness. I didn't answer. Couldn't. My throat locked, words caught somewhere between pain and fear. He gave a small, almost knowing smile. Name's Harlan. Yours? Ethan. Ethan, he repeated slowly, as if he was weighing it, testing how it fit. Then his gaze sharpened. Tell me something. Which is heavier? The things you've lost, or the things you've convinced yourself you'll never find? His question sliced straight through me. My eyes burned, and my chest clenched until I thought I'd break right there in front of him. I lost my family, I managed. My wife left. She took the kids. And I don't know how to keep living without them. Harlan leaned back, watching me. His silence was heavy, but not empty. It felt deliberate, like he was letting me hear my own words echo until I couldn't escape them. Finally, he spoke. That's not what you lost. That's what you were told you couldn't have. There's a difference. I frowned, confused. You're letting someone else's voice decide your value, he continued. Marielle's judgment doesn't define you. The love you have for your children does. That love is yours, and unless you throw it away, no one, not her, not the world, can strip it from you. It was like a crack of sunlight through a locked room. My body didn't believe him yet, but my heart wanted to. What if they grow up hating me? I asked quietly. What if she poisons them against me? He leaned forward, folding his hands, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. Then you fight. Not against her. Against the man in the mirror who keeps telling you you're worthless. Show your children a father who didn't surrender, even when it would have been easier. Let them see strength in your scars. If you want them to know you, Ethan, then be a man worth knowing. Tears blurred my vision. I had no words. Harlan reached into his pocket, pulling out a small wooden cross, its surface worn smooth by years of touch. He slid it across the table to me. Take it, not because of what it represents, but because of what it reminds you. Storms don't last. Men who endure them do. I closed my hand around it. It was warm, solid, real. For the first time since Marielle's words shattered me, I felt something more than despair. It wasn't hope, not yet. But it was the seed of it. The little cross sat heavy in my palm as I left the diner, heavier than its size should allow. It wasn't just wood, it was a reminder. A challenge. Storms don't last. Men who endure them do. Those words stuck with me. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I was walking through life as a ghost. I had something to hold on to, even if it was only a fragile thread of belief. The days that followed weren't easy. My world was still fractured. Job gone, marriage dissolved, children ripped away. The apartment echoed with emptiness, every room carrying the memory of laughter I thought I might never hear again. Nights were the worst. Loneliness pressed in, whispering temptations of escape. A bottle of whiskey sat unopened on the counter, daring me to drown in it. But whenever I reached for it, my hand found the cross instead. My grip on it was desperate, but it pulled me back each time. I started to fight, not in dramatic ways, but in the quiet choices that stacked up day after day. I woke early and ran, forcing my body into motion. I cleaned the apartment, scrubbed away the shadows clinging to the walls. I applied for jobs. Anywhere, everywhere, even ones my pride once turned me from. Each rejection stung, but I kept going. Slowly, the man in the mirror began to change. He wasn't whole yet, not even close, but he was standing, and standing mattered. Then came the letter. A cream envelope, stiff, official, with a lawyer's name stamped across the top. I opened it with shaking hands. Marielle was filing for full custody. My knees nearly buckled. Every word she'd written was a blade, painting me unstable, unworthy, a danger to my own children. She described the broken man she had left behind, not the one who was clawing his way back to life. For a moment, I almost believed her again. Almost. But then I reached into my pocket, fingers wrapping around the wooden cross, and I heard Harlan's voice in my head. Fight the man in the mirror. That night, I went back to the diner. The booth sat empty, waiting. But Harlan wasn't there. I stayed for hours, nursing coffee that grew cold, hoping he'd appear with another answer, another piece of wisdom to carry me through. But the door never opened for him. Still, I carried what he had already given me. In the courtroom weeks later, I stood across from Marielle. She looked polished, untouchable, her lawyer whispering in her ear like a vulture feeding on scraps. She wouldn't even meet my eyes. Maybe she expected me to crumble. Maybe she thought the man she left behind, the broken, hollow version, would be the one standing there. But when the judge asked if I had anything to say, I rose to my feet. My hands shook, but my voice didn't. I am not a perfect man, I began. But I am their father. And since the day they were born, that's the only role that's ever mattered. I can't undo my mistakes. I can't erase the nights I failed. But I can promise this. My children will never go looking for me and find an empty shadow. They'll find a man, one who fights for them, even when it costs him everything. The room was silent. For the first time in months, Marielle's eyes flickered toward me. Not soft, not forgiving, but uncertain. The judge didn't give me everything. Not full custody, not yet. But he gave me a chance, shared custody. Enough to see my children again. Enough to breathe. The first time I held them after so long, they ran into my arms like no time had passed at all. Their laughter filled every broken corner inside me. I cried openly, unable to stop, while their small hands patted my cheeks, confused but happy. That night, after they'd fallen asleep on the pull-out couch in my apartment, I sat by the window with the cross in my hand. Thank you, I whispered. Not to God. Not exactly. But to Harlan. Days later, I went back to the diner. I needed to see him, to thank him properly. The waitress recognized me as soon as I walked in. Back again, she said kindly. Yeah, I replied. I'm looking for someone. Older man. Gray hair. Said his name was Harlan. Her brow furrowed. Honey, I've worked this place for 15 years. Never had a customer by that name. I froze. No, that can't be right. He sat with me, right there. I pointed to the booth. She shook her head gently. Sweetheart, you were alone. First night you came in, you looked like you'd seen the end of the world. Sat there talking under your breath, clutching at nothing. I figured you were trying to work through something. The room tilted. Alone? Talking to no one? I pressed the cross into my hand. The wood was warm, solid, undeniable. Maybe Harlan had been real. Maybe not. Maybe he was something else. A memory, a ghost, or a voice from inside me that chose to speak when I couldn't find words myself. But in the end, it didn't matter, because what he gave me was real. I had my children's laughter again. I had my life back. And I had myself, the man who had finally chosen not just to survive, but to live. Storms don't last, but men who endure them do. And I intend to endure. For them. For me. For Ethan.